Hey guys, it's Angus, and today I'm going to give you a review of 22 Jump Street. So to the people that are thinking what's changed about the video quality, basically my primary camera, which is a Nikon D3200, is currently unavailable, so I'm using my webcam, which is the Logitech C920, and I'm going to be using that for the next couple of weeks as well. Anyway, so anyone that is a 21 Jump Street fan will know that 22 Jump Street is the sequel, and basically it's about the same case, and they've got this new building, which of course is on 22 Jump Street, and they've got this new plan, but instead in high school they've got college, so it's sort of the same repetitive story, but they've just got to find their struggle with Wi-Fi. So of course, if they're going to have the same story, then they're going to have the same plot and the same characters. That's probably the most important thing. So of course we've still got Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum. So I found it a little bit uncreative that Sony Pictures decided to keep the same story, but I was only really bothered about them keeping the same characters. And in the end, because they kept Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum, I'm glad, because they both played a decent role and they're both absolutely hilarious. Now Ice Cube wasn't really used that much in 21 Jump Street, but he was used more in 22 Jump Street, and I'm really glad because he is an absolutely hilarious character as well. Also so good is that they kept the comedy original, and it's not exactly the same, and it's not amazing, but it's definitely good. And what I was quite glad about is that there were some times where I was bursting out laughing, and it really was hilarious. The problem with the comedy is that I found that some scenes were dragging on a lot, and I found that it let down the comedy. Also, what's a bit annoying is that they concentrate on the relationship between Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum. Usually that is what the film's about, but they originally did that in the first film, and I didn't want them to do that again, and unfortunately they did. And because of that, I found that a lot of scenes are irrelevant, and they weren't really as funny as they could have been. So the good things is that in the end credits is absolutely hilarious. It was really funny though, because there are some plot points in the film, and they sort of tried to lead on to another film, like 23 Jump Street, but I sort of see that it isn't going to be one. But what they do is that they try to lead on to loads of other films, and they pretend it's going to happen, and it's just absolutely brilliant, and I'm really glad I did that. Probably the most important thing about this film is the comedy, and they kept it good, and it definitely was strong, and that is the most important thing about the film. What was also quite funny about the film is that they tried to trick you into thinking that this character did this thing and another character didn't do that, and I really liked that because it makes it confusing, and it is a little bit clever, and they're trying to make the story just more complex and interesting as well. So unfortunately there are quite a couple of things that I didn't like about the film. Firstly, they didn't really use original music. Now, I know this is a comedy, but I thought they at least could have got a composer to do something. Also, because they concentrate on the relationship between the two, it just drags on, and I feel they're trying to use that for more of a length time to make it around 2.5 hours, and I didn't like that because it got boring and it dragged on. One thing I thought was really bad is that they tried to give the image that the film is going to end about 2 hours in, and the problem with that is that I didn't know if it was going to end or not, and because I thought it was going to end, I completely lost interest in the film, and it carried on, so I sort of found it was dragging on even more. Main problem I found with this film is that it just was not good as 21 Jump Street. I know it can be difficult to make a sequel just as good as the original film, but it just wasn't there, and I didn't feel it was the same. Overall, the film is really funny, and it's absolutely fantastic for any fans that like 21 Jump Street, or Jonah Hill, or Channing Tatum. But because I think they've been uncreative and unoriginal with the story, and they haven't really nailed it, I'm going to give it a 6.7. So that is my review of 22 Jump Street. Be sure to give it a thumbs up, and see you in the next video. Guys, this is Angus, and today I'm going to give you an unboxing of this Audio Dynamics Mesh 2 speaker. So this... Now, I find it a little bit uncreative that they've sort of changed their own story. That doesn't make sense. So unfortunately they're quite... But because they've just completely used the same plots over again and used the same characters, I'm going to give it a 7. Unfortunately, this film has been graded quite highly, and I think it's quite annoying because they haven't even got their own original music, and generally films are meant to have their own music composed by their own composer. One thing I thought was absolute shit. Now, I know it's a sequel and it is hard. Now, I know sequels are generally difficult to make it as good as the first film, but the main problem I found with this film is that it just was not good as 21 Jump Street, and the comedy is shit. But because they've just been a little bit uncreative and unoriginal with the story, I'm going to give it a 7.6. Shit.